Welcome to Your Epic Pursuit. I'm Mike Mooney, and this is a space where we dive into inspiring and real conversations with people to explore their leadership journeys and performance. Our conversation, as always, is going to filter through the epic lens, which is excellence, presence, intentionality, and curiosity, which you'll hear kind of woven through what we speak about today. And our goal really is quite simple. We want to empower you and equip you with unique insights and actionable tools that are going to help accelerate your pursuit, whether that's in your business or in your life. It's just about the pursuit of getting better just that little bit each and every day. And today I am absolutely thrilled to have joining us Dr. Connie Book. She's the president of Elon University, where she's leading one of the most dynamic institutions in American higher education. And in full transparency, Elon is my alma mater, close to my heart. Met my wife, Krista, there as well. So Elon runs strong in our family. But her connection to Elon runs equally deep. She was an administrator and faculty member there for 16 years before she had taken on an absolutely groundbreaking role as the first female provost in the 175-year history of the Citadel, the military college of South Carolina. But then she returned to Elon as president in 2018, and under her leadership, Elon has been ranked as the #1 national university for excellence in undergraduate teaching by U.S. News and World Report, not just once, but 5 years running. She's recognized as one of the region's most outstanding leaders and has served on boards ranging from the American Council of Education to the National Association of Independent Colleges and Universities. And I have to say, on a personal level, I've been grateful for the relationship that Connie and I have built over the last 7 or so years, just in the way that she operates and the way that she goes through not just the work itself, but I got to tell you, she absolutely embodies what EPIC stands for. So, Connie, thank you so much for carving time out to join us today.
I'm really excited to be here, and that was a lovely introduction. Thank you, Mike.
Again, I don't know how to come back, but this, you're welcome, and I'm just thrilled, and all of it's true, all of it's true. So let's start off, because I've got a lot that I'd like to dig into with you on your journey and what you've seen and experienced and how you've continued to move forward and overcome obstacles, right, and do it all with great style. But to kick it off, I'm just curious, is there something you have happening now in your world, your life, personal, professional, that's got you fired up, something that's got you excited that you're working on?
Thanks for asking that. And yeah, right now at Elon, there are two things that I'm super excited about, and they both are personal. One is I was able to open a childcare center here for our employees. And when my son was born, he was ill. And at the college I worked for at the time had a childcare center, and it made all the difference in my ability to be able to go back to work, and to see to his needs. And then, as a nervous young mother, I wanted to be able to go check in on him periodically. I was nursing, so it just allowed me to have a really balance with continuing my professional life, but also in a very loving, kind, supportive environment for my son. So when I came to Elon as a faculty member, there was no childcare center. So after a few years here, I asked the chief financial officer if I could get a committee together, and this is like 20 years ago, to look at a childcare center. And at the time, the finances were challenging and we weren't able to do it. And then we had another committee, still wasn't able to move it forward. Well, then a couple of years ago, I walked into work one day and I said, I'm the president now. I can take these committee reports and move forward with this new child care center. And we have a crisis. So it was a lot of pleasure. In September to cut the ribbon on our new child care center for 60. It'll be 0 to 2s. We'll have 30. It's already full. And then we'll have open in the spring the 3, 4, and 5-year-olds, and we'll have 33, 4, and 5-year-olds. So really just exciting to bring that, and very personal for me.
Without a doubt, there are a couple of things that stand out to me in that. And first off, congratulations And it's also great to be in that position to say, no, it's time. We're going to go
Yeah,
ahead and
yeah, we're gonna
move
move
this.
forward.
We're going
Yeah.
to do this. But it also speaks to sometimes there's an idea, right? That is not going to happen right away, and it will take time. And sometimes it's a matter of being patient and seeing the process through, because things rarely happen overnight. But then it's also a matter of recognizing maybe the timing of it. The timing is right now for this to happen, right? And what a gift. I can imagine when you were talking about from your experience, as you were trying to work, and I don't want to use the word balance. I don't like the word balance in all of this, right? Because there isn't a true balance. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, that's
but
right,
but
yeah.
but what came to my
It's
mind was,
choices.
yeah, it's a choice that you have to make intentionally. Yet also, I am sure there's a bit of an exhale, right? So allowing your team to have that moment of just being able to exhale, that the things that are important to them, their children, are in a safe place and nearby, but I think frees them up to be able to be better contributors on the team.
Yeah, absolutely, I know, I mean, I the research is clear. To your point too about timing, I read Stephen Johnson. He's a writer on innovation, and he makes the point that rarely is innovation an aha moment by one individual. Instead, most innovation happens around a conference room where a bunch of people are brainstorming and trying to move things forward. And as they take one step forward and open a door, it naturally leads to another door and then another
Yeah,
door. And so
yeah,
innovation is a process. And being able to, in this case, innovate and open a childcare center, it definitely, every committee continued to advance our understanding of the impact of that. It also helped socialize the idea, and people had great suggestions about how to design it and what would be, how we could integrate research with the little ones into some of the work that's going on at Elon with our faculty and students in the research space. So every committee process made it better.
you know what's cool? Okay, this we could have a whole conversation around this, as our conversations typically do. Gotta go down these different paths, which is why I love speaking with you. Um, there are four words that I I wrote down on an index card several years ago that came to me in a moment where I had this idea for something that I wanted to do. I had the vision, but I got so wrapped up in the I don't know how I'm going to make this. I don't know how I'm going to get there, And what came to me were these four words: intentional action drives clarity. And I think that the point in that is that we're not expected when we have a vision or for an idea, innovation, something new. I don't think the expectation is we should know how all that's going to come together. What I found to be true is that all I'm being asked to do is take one step today. And in your case, it was getting that first committee together, right? And then having them meet. And then sure enough, you take steps one and two, and it's amazing. And maybe you've seen this there and other places too, Connie, but you take step one and two, and then suddenly resources or people or ideas come in that get you to step three, four, and five, and then more get it right. And it's
And it's better than you had originally thought because you've
absolutely.
got this momentum of those doors opening and perspectives changing.
Yeah.
One thing I love about you, Mike, is you help put things in a nutshell, in a way that people, can remember. So I like that, that intention, action, drive, and clarity.
Yeah.
I wrote it down.
Yeah, well, and thank you. No, but it's true. I mean, it's just these are things that have served me, and as I look back and I speak with people, I'm like, okay, cool, I'm not alone.
Yeah,
I'm not
that's
I'm
right.
not here trying to figure this out.
And some people are more comfortable with uncertainty, and I really work hard as a leader. So much of leadership is around uncertainty, right? And our ability to continue to perform in uncertainty, to take risk, to have seeds of ideas where we think it's going to go well, and to take those risks. So getting the team comfortable with uncertainty, I think, is one of the big and big efforts that a leader has. And I try to to communicate as much as possible and to share, yeah, I'm uncertain, but what I am confident in is you, or, our future, or to remember to anchor them in the things we know we are confident in.
Yeah, I think what's so rich in that is sometimes as leaders, we believe that we've got to anchor into the outcome or the vision, even though internally we're a little like, "Oof, I don't know," but we've anchored into the wrong thing, right? Because that outcome may not be the outcome that we ultimately drive toward. However, you made the choice and you were intentional to anchor it back in the people, their skills, could even be the mission of why we're going down this road.
Mhm.
It could even be, yeah, you know what? I believe this is where it's going. Now we have to be flexible because things may change that we've got to, sort of account for. But
That's
what I
right.
do believe is in what you bring and your skills, your talent, our commitment, right? That
Yes.
that right there is gold because so many leaders today are operating in states of uncertainty and things that we've talked about before, where in those moments leaders tend to want to control what's happening instead of take a step back and just ask, where can I influence something? What can I influence in a conversation? What can we do that brings more perspective?
Yeah, yeah, that's right. And those are important decisions about how you use a limited amount of energy, right? That, as a leader, you're trying to manage that space about what are we going to attend to? How much, planning are we going to do, and when things are changing so quickly.
Without a doubt, without a doubt. Yeah, and I'd imagine in many worlds, yours perhaps in higher education, there could be, we used to call the analysis paralysis, right? Where it's just we're gonna keep reviewing this, meanwhile the environment's changing and maybe an opportunity is lost, or sometimes it actually works out well that we took a little more time.
Yes. And
So
sometimes we swing and miss. And right, sometimes we swing and it wasn't the right swing. And so I've been talking to the team about how important it is that we keep swinging, even if we miss.
uh,
Right.
l-
Because we're learning new skills. And
can we dig into that for a second, please? Because I that is such an important point for leadership that oftentimes we look at not reaching the goal, not hitting the numbers as a loss instead of perhaps data points that we can learn from, right? And oftentimes people will be hesitant to take a full swing because they're not sure they're going to make contact. So I'm just not going to. So how is that played out? How do you have those conversations with the team, or maybe better yet, as a leader? Let's start there real quick. As a leader, how do you release or get yourself into that mindset to say it's okay if we swing and miss? And then,
yeah, and some are, and I want to be respectful that these misses can be costly. They can impact people's employment. I know leaders have a lot on their plate that they're thinking about. But what I do know is if we're not innovating and continue, right, things are dynamic. Everybody's business is constantly dynamic. And we've all read about the S curve, right? The adoption, and that we do reach plateaus on any product. Higher ed has reached a plateau. And so, in order for higher ed to continue to advance, we have to look at the infrastructure and innovate and start new S curves, so that people, continue to frequent universities and are responsive to what the workforce needs are today, and the approaches, the different modes in which people learn and experience. So I do talk to the team a lot. We just went through this process where we redesigned our scholarship weekend, and this is the weekend when we invite people to come to campus. And last year it did not yield the outcomes we wanted. But I did say to the team how grateful I was that we swung. We learned a lot by putting the new design in place,
uh,
and so we've come back and we've tweaked it. But if we hadn't swung, we would have always questioned, is that the right approach? Well, we learned that's not the right approach.
yeah,
That didn't yield the results we wanted, and it also helped informed how we tweak it. So trying
yes.
to really capitalize on the learning that happens in those moments, and to publicly thank the leaders that were engaged in taking the risk. So from a microphone, in front of the board of trustees, I thank that leader for swinging because we have to be innovating,
Right.
and get comfortable that sometimes when you're taking these risks, it's not gonna deliver the outcome that you wanted, and that the vision is really about innovation, not always just the outcome, right?
No, that's exactly right. I read an article several years ago in Popular Mechanics, and there was an owner of a design company, and this quote always stuck with me, and he said, "If you don't look back at the first product that you put to market with a little bit of embarrassment, you waited too long."
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, 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 yeah.
Applied there, it's like, look, if you didn't put something out there to at least, yeah, I love the phrase, like, let's put the ball in play, and then we'll see what comes back, So it's just, I think
And
setting up a culture like that, right?
the innovation is how you stay relevant, and so I'm gonna use, Charlotte since aren't you based out of Charlotte?
I am, yes.
So,
Yep.
I'm gonna use a Charlotte analogy because I've been reading and learning a lot about Charlotte, but here I'm gonna talk about Lance Crackers,
Yeah.
okay?
Yep.
Lance Crackers, a great North Carolina company that was founded in 1915, by Philip Lance in Charlotte, and he accidentally got 500 pounds of peanuts delivered to his supply store. And it was his wife and his daughter-in-law that said, "What can we do with these peanuts?" So they made peanut butter and then they sold the peanut butter. Well, some other family members said, "Why don't we make crackers to go with the peanut butter?" So they reinvented it, right? Continuing to stay relevant by saying, "Okay, let's." And then for those of us who have enjoyed Lance crackers over the years, Lance now has they make peanut butter and cheese crackers. They have this very popular Necot, Nekot,
Yep.
which I didn't realize what the whole reason we have Necot crackers is because they, accidentally printed token crackers backwards, and
Is
it
that
is
right?
and that's how the name Necot, because I thought it was some foreign cracker, I didn't know.
Right.
And
Wait.
they keep reinventing themselves. You've got cheese, the cheese cracker, the sour cream and chives cracker, but the point being is that they are constantly innovating, and as a result, they've survived 100 plus years
That's
now
right.
as an innovative snack, uh, for all of us. And and it's an example of S-curve innovation, right? Continuing to stay relevant by asking yourself, "What else?" And having that itch.
Yeah, right. The what if, like what if, and what could be. I mean, that's all like the power of curiosity, right? I mean, oftentimes we stifle curiosity based out of fear of either not knowing or what could be, or we don't have all the answers or things like that, right? I mean, it's definitely can restrict the growth, and I think the key you put there is relevance, because whether it's a business or whether it's our own personal brand, relevance is an important factor for us to continue to make the impact that we'd like to make.
Yes,
You
right.
know,
So NASCAR is constantly asking that question, how can NASCAR stay relevant?
that's right.
I, had lunch with Hugh McCall this summer, who was the CEO of Bank of America and merged, right? So
Yep.
over
Oh,
1,000 banks in his career.
yeah, I mean, absolute cornerstone of the Charlotte banking community. Yes,
And he told me that, and I thought I'm never gonna forget it. He said, "A good organization has 3 Rs. They are relevant and stay relevant. They have a strong reputation, and they have clear reward for engaging with them." And so he uses these 3 Rs, in his analysis of organizations, and from my perspective, because I'm higher ed, I think about the curriculum work we do every day to try to continue, like, we're working really hard on integrating AI now across the curriculum. Elon's launched engineering, so we're building an engineering school in computing, because we need to stay relevant to what the workplace needs are, and that constant reinvention of curriculum and addressing today's modern day student. So relevancy.
yeah, I love that. 3 hours. I just made note of that. That's fantastic. And again, it's relevant across any industry, or if it's for you as an individual, an organization, higher ed, publicly traded, whatever it might be. I love that. Connie, in your seat, you're making a lot of decisions and, decisions that are not just within your office, but have a ripple effect out across, like you said, the institution, all the way down to the students. So I'm curious along those lines. I'm sure you've had to make some bold ones along the way. Um, is there one decision that you had to make that people maybe questioned, maybe even you questioned yourself, but ultimately led to an outcome that was, transformational seems very, very lofty, but it changed the way people were like, whoa, or even yourself, like, I didn't think that that could actually happen.
So I'll share an experience from the pandemic that was really it ended up being transformative for Elon. Um, so I at the Citadel, I learned this expression around force power. So
Horse,
when a general is deciding how to move troops, has to make critical decisions how you're going to use your forces power, right? What am I going to ask the soldiers to do? Force power. And this is a decision leadership makes all the time. Like, am I going to have my team work on this? Think about when you set an agenda. How because I put how long we're going to talk about. Like that's a 10-minute item, 15-minute item. So I'm deciding how to use force power in a meeting. Like how long are we going to spend on these topics? Well, I don't know if you can. It's a dusty memory, COVID, but there was a period when in March when the government closed the country where we had to send all the college students home. So we sent them all home. And for Elon, that was mid March. So we had until the end of May. So we ended up refunding a lot of housing, room and board kind of for your meal plans and things. Well, very quickly, we stood up a group focused on how to reopen. And I can remember, I mean, this was right. There was so many unanswered questions. We didn't have a vaccine at the time. We were just we neighbor LabCorp where they were working very feverishly to deliver a COVID test, and we started planning how are we going to reopen in the fall. And a lot of people were sending me notes, do not reopen, do not reopen, stay closed.
yeah,
And it was a tough decision. And even in the planning, I wouldn't let the team spend any time planning how we close. So once we open, I said, no, we're not going to use any force power on a plan to close. Every scenario we plan will be how to address the situation, not not putting closing as even an option on the table. And I remember the team being very nervous because they wanted to say, if we have this many COVID cases, we're going to close. And I said, no, we're not. If we have this many COVID cases, what are we going to do?
mm,
And so all of our plans were focused on mitigating. And as a result, Elon opened and stayed opened. And we were only a handful of colleges were able to accomplish that in the fall. And I know it's because we did not use any force power on a
right.
closure plan because eventually we did have a moment where we had 600 cases. I hate to even say that. So
Wow.
10% of the student body had COVID. But of course, college students were not experiencing the side effects in the same way that other
Other
populations
populations.
were. So
Hmm.
we had developed a plan how to isolate the sick and how to have these 10-day. Anyway, we had developed a whole plan. So we stayed open, and that ended up being one of our most positive financial decisions because parents and families were craving the ability to send their kid. They had been
Right.
home since March, so they were like, "Thank goodness you've opened." Uh, and then when they dropped them off, the parents were like, how long do you think it's gonna last that you're gonna be able to stay open?" And I said, "No, we're staying open because we don't even have a plan to close." And sure enough, and it ended up being just this great, it was a hard year, but our community pulled that off, and we ended up ending the year, with, lots of positive, positive outcome from that.
Wow, that reminds me of the burn the boats theory that the
Yeah,
Vikings would have when they would
yeah.
go conquer. It's just sort of like, "We're here, burn
Yeah,
the
we're
boats, there's
not
no way
leaving.
we're not leaving," right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting how easy it is for people to kind of go to that default of, oh, well, then we'll just close, or we're just going to quit, or we're just going to change. I mean, your decision to say, okay, no, we're going to reopen. Yet what you did was, use that force power to shift to be more intentional in the thinking. So then, okay, if we do have more cases, how will we handle that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Versus just shutting down. And of course, the last thing you'd want to do is send everybody home and spread it. So, I
Right.
was like, no,
Right.
no, yeah. But
Right.
you're right. People, it's scary to take on that responsibility in some ways, so having people have the courage to not get in that headspace, to stay in the game. We're still in the ring. We're going to keep fighting if that happens.
That's right. That's right. But again, not easy in uncertain times. I mean, if anything, what we all learned through that COVID period is that there was no playbook for how you go
Right.
about managing it, and everyone's situation, as closely as they seemed to be, they were all very different. I used to hear the same, like the phrase that we're, somebody say, "Oh, we're all in the same boat." And somebody once said, no, actually, we're in different boats, but in the same storm. And it requires different ways
Yeah.
of
That's a
approaching
good,
it,
good
right?
expression. Yeah.
And I think that idea of just being like intentionally shifting away from the default of this is what everyone else is doing, so we should do the same. Like I said, it yielded not only the financial benefits, but I think also, again, from an institutional resilience standpoint,
Yes.
uh,
Yeah. The
right?
confidence that, "No, we weathered that." Yes, yeah.
Wow. I love it. I love it. So during those times, and probably others too, I mean, at the pace that you all are working, there've had to been times when the team or even yourself have kind of like hit the wall. You're just kind of like, all right, how are we going to get through this situation? Uh, so I'm curious, in times like that, or was there a time that you had to take maybe an unconventional approach to how do we break through this? And we actually did.
Yeah, I could, that o one is in that same period of time, Elon did some really important things that I know, our team, it was hard work. We had to take some risk. One is, when you're in the middle of a pandemic or in the government, and right, I don't know if you remember, the stock market tanked and then it went up. There was a lot going on during that period. And we were in the middle. We had just literally a few weeks before the pandemic adopted a 10-year strategic plan that included the construction of this $50 million building dedicated to the sciences and engineering. And I was sitting at my desk with our CFO at the time, and we had done some fundraising for that building, but it was also going to mean taking on about $30 million in debt to do it. And when you have sent home all your college students and you're wondering how you're going to reopen in the fall, to sign on to a new construction project, $50 million construction project, had to, I was at my desk one day and people were like, oh, we can pause that, right? And I was thinking, if we pause this, it pushes everything out another 18 months, and so, I know that at that time people were pausing a lot of construction projects and the import of different materials was challenging and all of
Supply
that.
chain, all, yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I'm sitting at my desk and my CFO's there and all the papers laid out for my signature, and I know, they were really surprised when I picked up that pen and I just signed it. And it's literally, you got your fingers crossed, you're like, "Oh," but I'm here to tell you that when they broke ground a few months later and through 20, 21, and 22, as that new building came out of the ground, I would sometimes, just for my own feeling of a positive future, because it was so stressful, I would go stand and just watch them in that construction project because it was so symbolic of confidence Oh, yeah, we're gonna rebound. And so everybody on visiting our campus, all of the faculty, staff, and students, they would pass this project of here's a university that believes in the future and is building this really it actually houses biomedical engineering, which is like at the forefront of vaccines, right? So
Kind of ironic.
yeah. So it's like, yes, we're confident, and our community can be confident in our future.
I mean, just the ability in that, again, moment where everyone else wants to go right, which is like, "Hey, let's just hit pause for a while and see how this all plays out." The fortitude, right? Just to say, we need to maintain the vision right now. And I think that gets back to the earlier conversation we had about these small steps that start to build, toward that vision where it's easy to sit on the sideline with a lot of things in life, especially when they're not lining up the way we thought they were going to. It's a different level of performance, yet also faith in what could be, right? That belief in the future when others are saying or naysaying right now, because we don't know what it's going to be. It's like, that's fine. Well, I can't control what's going on out there, but we have an opportunity perhaps to influence what's happening here in our little part of the world.
Yeah, that's right. One of the other things that the fact we built a nursing program during COVID. We did not have nursing at Elon, and we always had great students who wanted to come to Elon, but we didn't have that program. So we were able to stand up nursing. And I told the community at the time, I said, I can see them in their scrubs running, walking to class. It's in my head. So we are going to build, we're going to build this program. Today, Elon has almost 280 nursing students.
Is
Yeah,
that
right. So
right?
just 4 years later that we have and we had the first graduating class of nurses last May, for the Bachelor of Science in Nursing, and 100% passed the exam, with the nursing boards, and
Well, yeah.
and now they're well, really, literally, they're at Yale's hospital, they're at Mass General, at Harvard's hospital, Johns Hopkins, that some are here at Atrium and Novant Health and Duke, and you're just like, it was so important that we launched and look what vibrancy they're bringing to our community and health, yeah.
Well, yeah, without a doubt. And I think about that. Goodness, I mean that's powerful right there. Not beyond the staying true to the vision and the mission. Yet we didn't know at that time the impact that was going to have on our first responders, the frontline caretakers
Yes,
in
yeah,
hospitals, where this new I want to use the word crop, but this new group of graduates coming out hungry to help and be involved and
yes,
learn at a
yeah,
time when so many were tired and they were overwhelmed. I mean, had you waited 18 months, then we just pushed this out. So
yes,
I just
yeah,
think it's a beautiful synchronicity of what now is being shared in the world, but more importantly in healthcare when it's needed so desperately.
yes,
Right?
yeah,
That's
yeah.
amazing. That is amazing. Uh, you know, Connie, I know you are a student of leadership and self-improvement and, how do I get just a little better? Where's that little edge or the principle that works for me? And as a leader, like, is there one leadership principle, or approach that you found just always delivers for you that you lean into?
I will say that, and it does go against, conventional wisdom, this
Okay.
little, nugget, but I absolutely believe that the wisdom is in the group. That I am much more likely to achieve great results when I bring the challenge to the group. When I was a young professional, I was influenced by a guy who worked at Elon in planning and construction and design. And I went to him one day and I said, "You need to X." And he said, "That is an interesting solution. Could you back up and tell me the problem?" And I thought that was a good self-awareness, that, oh. And so I told him the problem, and he said, "Okay, well, that idea is a good idea that you have. Here are 2 other ways you might think about 2 other solutions you might think about to solve that problem." And it's, I carry that into every meeting that I have is that really, if you can open up the aperture, I think people think that's going to take too much time to ask the group what their thoughts are. In universities, we operate on a principle of shared governance. So, when I think, for example, about Elon's strategic plan, that was a shared process. Our community ideated. They each did vertical research in different areas, and together we built this really exciting plan for the next 10 years of the university. And we passed it right before COVID, and now we came back to it, and you know what? It still holds. It imagined engineering, it imagined nursing, it imagined all these things that are even more pertinent today, and I know it's because the wisdom is in the group. And I have found, and I know leaders are challenged, time is part of a strategy, how speed and getting to things.
Yeah.
But I have found there are ways to be inclusive in that process and to keep the time managed. It does take a little bit longer, but it is a better informed decision, in my opinion. And I've already laid the groundwork through the shared process
Yeah.
for people
Yeah.
to hit the ground running.
Yeah, and what you're also getting in there, which is super important for leaders when you're trying to move toward a solution, or if it's innovation or change, is that it also brings group buy-in because people have had a chance to either have a voice or have their voice heard as part of the process. Things weren't dictated to them, but I like the distinction you made in that, which is there's got to be a way to lead through that group, to share that curiosity, that wisdom seeking, but do it in a way that doesn't stall or get us away from what the vision is or what we're really trying to solve for. It reminds me of there's an old joke of when someone asks, "Do you know what a camel is?" And the person goes, "No, what's a camel?"
Yeah, what's a camel?
Camel, a camel is a horse designed by committee. And so it's just something. It kind of does what we wanted it to do. It doesn't
Yeah,
quite look the
yeah.
way we wanted, but everyone's voice was in there, and it took longer to get there. But anyhow, I love that idea of like the wisdom being in the group, so leaders have the confidence to step back and bring others into the conversation. Yet, I think what I'm hearing you say too is maybe even if it's setting timelines or it's really being firm in, like you said, with your agendas. We're going to spend 10 minutes on this. We're going to
Yeah.
spend 10 minutes on that.
And ultimately, I hold the responsibility of making the decision, right? Like, I'm not trying to forfeit that responsibility. What I'm
Yeah.
trying to do is to make a better informed decision, and one that I know has to be delivered by a team of people that they had a chance to influence it in some way. Building teams and getting teams to work well together is such an essential part of leadership as well. Like, and I didn't really realize that till when I took this job. One of the Citadel folks I worked with, a really great guy, he said, "Connie, your big job now is to build a team."
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm here to run the university. No, 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 no. You'll get there, but through your team, right?
Through your team, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it. Oh, Connie, this has been a great conversation. Is there anything that we didn't cover or something that hits you and as we were
I'll just
talking
say
that
one last thing, Mike, because
yeah.
I think a lot about like in the work that you're doing, and people who are there to support other people in leadership, and how important it is to provide sounding boards to people to be able to continue their professional development. I'm in my 8th year as president, and I need other people to help me navigate what the next few years of my presidency look like, and how to keep myself refreshed and positive. And it can be weary, so I'm really respectful of the kind of work that you're doing to help people coalesce. One
Well,
thing that I'll just leave this as a closing thought is that Harvard Business Review did a series, and it was kind of a cheekish series, but it was really enlightening about the difference between renting and owning. And the idea was, that you don't wash the car when you rent a car. You don't worry about the maintenance. You don't bring in, make sure it's clean. When you own a car, you're watching, you're making sure you get that oil changed, and
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a sense of ownership. And I have a great sense of ownership about my work, right? I'm an owner of Elon University. I'm thinking about people who follow me, that 50 years from now, what will this community wish that we had done? And as we take care of, metaphorically, our car, right? Like, if Elon, like, I want to make sure we're changing the oil, that we've got the team, that the car is going to last, a long time. And
That's right.
so having this mindset of ownership has
Mm.
been very much on my mind, and as a way to navigate just even my personal life, that I'm going to take ownership of a plan for what I want, the next 10 years to hold for me. My daughter and I have been very intentional now about planning a weekend together, just the two of us, and working with my son on. I have a small farm, and together we harvest grapes, muscadines. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's
So,
amazing.
but it's like being very intentional, that that's a space I truly love, and he loves it too. And so just that intentionality of ownership of our work and our lives and the organizations that we are building and help prosper.
Oh, that is phenomenal because what I hear in that the power of ownership to me that gets back to personal accountability, right? And not just I know people that they say accountability, but really like there's an accountability to yourself first and foremost, And when I hear you saying those things, I think about how easy it is and how often in our lives it's easier for us to look down the end of our finger versus hold up the mirror just to say, so where am I in this? What should I learn here? What is my lesson in this? What is my responsibility here? And looking at it not through a lens of oh, I didn't do it. It's like that's opportunity. I have an opportunity in this, right? And I so we could have a whole other conversation. This is usually how things go with us. We
Yeah,
could we
yeah,
could
that's
have a
good.
whole
I
other
like it. I
conversation.
like it, Mike.
I love it. Well, I mean, to wrap up on that, but to start at the beginning, so many notes I took along the way here, Connie. I mean, this idea about innovation and having the confidence to instill a culture and a mindset of keep swinging. It's okay to swing and miss, but innovation requires the working in uncertainty. And if we look at that swing and a miss not as a loss, but as data points to learn, we will get better the next time around. That is so powerful. The idea of innovation leading to relevance and the three R's that you mentioned, the relevance and reputation and reward, whether that's as an individual, whether that's as an organization, I think it's a powerful account for how we can go through and continue to operate productively in times of uncertainty. This force power of how are we managing resources and time, and more importantly, energy, right? Energy and time being like those two vital resources that we just never get enough of, and once they're gone, right? So, what are we doing with that? The shift from the default, like, can we get step away from the default action in the case here of closing the university? Well, what's the plan though if we stay? And this does pop up. So it's like, how can we as leaders shift people away from the default mode of just shutting down or stepping back or giving up? So powerful. And what that does to visualize the impact of a future, staying true to the mission, even in times of uncertainty, because that vision was created, that mission was set. Probably in times of uncertainty,
Yeah.
right? But it
Yeah.
was a way for us to have a North Star to be moving towards. So great. How about this from a curiosity standpoint? Is stepping back a little bit to get wisdom from the group, not just myself. I'm not going to stroke my ego, but I want to seek out wisdom from others. So wonderful. And then this whole idea at the end. This was like the icing on it all, Connie. Is are you renting or are you owning? I again, I would encourage anyone listening right now, think about that in your life, not just your work, but even your personal life. Are you renting the space you're in right now, or are you owning it? As a leader, shifting that perspective of being a steward of what it is that you're bringing forward, your legacy. Connie, I mean, This was like a master class here, and I can't thank you enough.
And you made it sound so good, Mike, in that recap. Thank
You
you.
no, it's funny. A lot of the guests who I speak with on here, they'll say, "Well, you said that better than me." I'm like, "No, no,
Yeah.
no. I'm just taking notes of what these are your words. This is your journey, your story. So
It's
thank you,
like when
thank you."
AI, does the synopsis of the meeting for you. You're like, "Wow, that was a good meeting."
Was I in the right? I don't think I was in that meeting. Wait a
Yeah,
minute,
yeah.
right? But this has been fantastic. Again, Connie, thank you so much for your time, and more importantly, thank you for being a steward of Elon. I say that from my heart because of the legacy that you're helping to build, but the connection that we have to that school and the memories and what it's helped prepare us do in the world. So thank you for that. And for those of you who've been tuning in, I hope you took as much away from this as I have, and in the notes and the ideas as well. I want to encourage you to continue to believe that even in times of uncertainty, your best is yet to come. So we'll
There.
talk to you soon.
I
Thanks
love
so
that.
much.
Thanks, Mike. Thank you.